His name's Phil.
And his name's Tim.
And this is Tim and Phill Talk About Games.
A podcast where Tim and myself get together and talk about games we have recently played and discuss topics in the world of gaming.
This week, we're shuffling our decks and playing cards against the shuffling undead as we delve into the dungeons of the free-to-play browser game Card Hunter.
Following in the digital tabletop tradition, we'll be having a look at Blizzard's free-to-play collectible card game, Hearthstone, which has taken off in a big way since its launch last year. Okay, cool.
So it has.
Yes, indeed.
So it has.
Yes. So this is the Tim and Phill Talk About Games podcast/vodcast. We are, yet again, broadcasting to YouTube at some time in the future. But anybody that's listening in on the podcast, you just keep doing what you're doing because we love you.
If you are watching the video as well, I don't want to alarm anyone, but the blood around my mouth is my own. In the extreme excitement of wanting to get into recording, I appear to have chewed through my own face in anticipation. So I apologize for that. And I hope it's not too off-putting for people.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Today we are talking about two games that kind of, I guess they trace their origins back to very tabletop experiences. So we're talking about D&D, we're talking about, just general card games, Magic the Gathering, all that kind of stuff. There's kind of been recently quite a few transitions from the tabletop to the digital realm. And these are two of the more, maybe not in one case successful, I suppose it's got quite a bit of a player base, but maybe not as large as the other one, but also just two of the best implementations that we found that are like kind of as close as you get to the in-person feel of a tabletop game. So I reckon we should probably talk about Card Hunter first, because probably more people have heard about Hearthstone than Card Hunter, and we want to remedy that because Card Hunter is a really, really great game. And as we just found out, it's made by some of the most illustrious people in the industry. So, Tim, you've been playing a bit of it recently. So what's it about?
I think the official term is a dick load. I've been playing an absolute metric dick load.
Right, yep.
Card Hunter, so we were playing the game, and Phil and I were talking to ourselves just earlier and thought, this is a really good game. I wonder where the pedigree is coming from.
Yeah.
And it turns out, we looked it up, and it is a bunch of guys who they come from one of the most prestigious gaming lines of all time. We've got the co-founder of Irrational Games and the lead designer or design director behind BioShock.
Yeah. The
original BioShock, which is a pretty cool game.
You may have heard of it. I don't know. It was kind of indie.
You may have heard. And then one of the lead creative consultants, he created this little game called Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
So
that's another one that's a little bit underground. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it hasn't really made it to all markets yet. I think there are some corners of the world, mostly in sort of like the northern water tribes that haven't come across Magic the Gathering yet.
It totally ripped off the Pokemon card game, let's face it.
Totally. It's a Pokemon knockoff, essentially, is what it is.
Oh, God,
so,
I feel dirty.
Coming from this amazing pedigree, we've got this game called Card Hunter, which is, and this is the first and last time that you'll hear these words coming out of my mouth, an amazing Flash-based free-to-play browser game.
I know how much it hurts you for those words to come out of your mouth. But
it's so weird. It doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't hurt. It's a weird feeling to be able to say it without any irony or snark in my voice.
Yeah.
It is a really, really good game, and it is Flash-based. I have had almost no problems with its implementation. There's been no system slowdowns or random crashes or hangs or bizarre memory leaks and all the rest of the things that you expect from a Flash game.
It is still weird to play it, like, as someone who plays all his games in, kind of engines. Playing a game in a web browser really does feel odd.
I thought it would, but for me, I don't even notice the browser anymore.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I play in a browser is almost...
I suppose you can full screen it anyway, so...
Well, you can, but I also play... I mean, I have a big computer setup. Like, I have 3 24-inch monitors surrounding my base because I don't ever want to have to see the outside world. So for me, I play a lot of my games in either windowed mode, or if I can manage it, windowed with full screen borderless mode, where essentially it just takes up one full monitor, and then your cursor is free to fly to other programs.
Developers / programmers / designers, please make that a default option in the main menu, so that we don't have to always add command line friggin' options to every executable ever.
I understand, because it's not that easy to do in terms of programming. Like there are some serious limitations, especially when you're working with the DirectX engine, to get into full screen windowless boarding. It's not exactly trivial. So I understand why they don't always do it, but it is really, really nice to have. So if it's not going to take too much time out of your day, please look into it. Anyway, the point is that I can play it, in a window really easily, and I can still do all the other things that I want to do at the same time. I mean, I'm a serial multitasker. It's borderline addiction levels. In fact, not borderline, it is addiction levels of multitasking.
Yes, you are. I can verify this.
Yeah. And so it's really nice to be able to play the game in one window, even full screened on my main monitor, or even on one of my side monitors, and be able to play it sort of on the side while I'm, doing the 300 other things that I'm also doing at the time.
You should really cut down on that.
Yeah.
There's been research shown that like no one can actually multitask. Like the.
Oh yeah, no, I fully get this. Yeah. In fact, I'm also using an app called Rescue Time, which I've just started using in the past couple of weeks.
I just saw that as well.
Which is really cool, and it essentially just tells me how much of a bad, evil, unproductive person that I am. But the funny thing is that one of the little tips that come up from Rescue Time, because it can tell you how many things you have open, is
for people that haven't downloaded it, so Rescue Time is it's basically a program that tracks how many different, like it tracks the time you spend in different programs, kind of thing. So it can see whether or not you're using, in Tim's case, 20 or 30 programs a little tiny bit at a time, or if you're actually focusing on a project in particular.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
So, I mean, Rescue Time is constantly giving me this little tip saying, multitasking, not shown to be that effective in the long run. Maybe you should cut down on that. And I'm like, shut up, Rescue Time! You're not my mom!
You're not my real dad.
You're not my real dad! So, the point is that I can play Card Hunter while doing a million other things at once, and that makes me a happy little chappy.
Yeah.
But the point behind Card Hunter is that it is essentially a pseudo dungeon crawler style game.
Yeah.
Where you are playing a game of literally D&D. I mean, it is by all intents and purposes D&D.
Yeah.
But you are playing it in the game.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's a game within a game.
You're playing as a character who is yourself.
Yeah.
And your self character is playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons with these other characters in the game. A little bit meta, but it's not as difficult as how I just explained it.
Yeah.
So what's happening is that rather than with D&D where you've got a system of rules and dice rolls, this is all done through decks of cards.
Yeah.
So if you have played, for example, Magic the Gathering, or if you've played Hearthstone, which we're going to cover in the second half of this review, or if you've played the Pokemon TCG, or any TCG, or trading card game.
Any LCG.
Yeah. These mechanics are very, very familiar to pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
So the way the game works is that you have a deck of cards for each of your characters. But what is different about this game is that the cards aren't put together in a deck by just saying you have a pool of cards and choose the ones that you want in your deck, which is how most TCGs work. Instead, your character has items and an inventory, just like you would in almost any RPG.
Yeah.
And those items are made up of between, I guess, 2 and 4 cards, depending on how powerful they are. I think most of them are actually 3. I might be misremembering that. But
well, some of them, like some of the crappier cards are kind of made up of, like, so it's really interesting how they do this, because some equipment might seem better because you have like one card that's included in its set that's really, really powerful. Like you can, your character
melt someone's face off for 10 damage.
Yeah, exactly. But the remaining 3 cards that are in that item, which come with the item, like you can't just get rid of them, might be like really crappy attacks, like Slap or something like that deals 1 damage.
Or worse. I mean, there are some cards in there where like I've got a Rod of Base Melting or whatever, or Mace of Desecration, or whatever it is that you've got. And one of the things might be do a bunch of damage to 3 enemies surrounding you. But then the other 2 cards might be, one of them might just be walk 3 steps, because all your movement is made up of cards as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then the 3rd card might be like a card that is, first of all, it's a forced play card, so you have to play it. You don't have a choice. If it lands in your hand, you have to play it, and that card might deal 5 damage to you.
Yeah.
Or it might say lose all movement for that turn, or it might say anytime someone else damages you, you gain an additional 2 damage while this card is in play. So there are some really interesting sort of mechanics that come into the thing. But like you said, Phil, there are some cards. That was really weird saying your name. I'm not going to do that again. There might be some cards where, items where you have to play these cards. I mean, you don't get, say, an item gives you the access to the cards. The item is the cards.
Yeah.
It is literally those 3 cards, and they just go into your deck, and that's, you draw, and if they come up, they come up. It's just how the game is played.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it really interesting.
Bill.
So the keep saying my name, Tim.
Say my name.
So the way that the actual gameplay works is kind of like a turn-based strategy, like RPG kind of thing. So if you've played anything like, I don't know, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy Tactics, what was the one that was just released recently that we talked about? XCOM. Enemy Unknown. Anything like that. So you're taking turns with the enemy in a kind of dungeon, like scratchy, drawn-out dungeon kind of setting. And each turn that you get to pull from your set of cards that you have that are made up by your items. And you get to pull, you get to play one of those cards from your hand that does something with your character. So you kind of need to make sure that you have enough movement to get around in your card. So so it's kind of how you get the constructed deck feel of a collectible card game, by mixing and matching the different items that your characters have equipped. And sort of optimizing that thing so that you have enough movement, you have enough attack, you have enough defense, you have enough special skills that can get you out of a tight bind kind of thing. And you'll progress through these little modules, and each module will have maybe, I don't know, 2 to 5 maps. Or you can find really epic quests, I think, that, kind of go for a lot longer. And you progress through the maps, getting more and more difficult, getting different scenarios happening, ambushes and, I don't know, needing to hit an enemy in a particular way or a particular order or something like that, as you would in D&D. I mean, this is heavily based on D&D, and they've taken all these guys obviously have a deep love and a deep appreciation for D&D, and a deep appreciation for the storylines that are created in D&D. And so you get a lot of those interesting scenarios where, it ties into the story. The actual mechanics of the battle tie into the story that it's trying to tell. So it really works. I'm surprised more people haven't played it. I guess because it is a HTML game, I guess. Is that a limitation on this?
So maybe. I mean, first of all, how do you find the game?
Well,
it's not on Steam,
no,
for example.
Yeah.
You're not going to find it on a shelf in a store. You're not going to find it at your local...
No. It's really just word of mouth.
BJ. Wait, no, BJ's a different thing.
JB.
I was trying to think... I was going to say JB and then EB, trying to make it sort of politically correct and not... But not BJ.
EJ. I don't know.
So the point is that the game is kind of hard to come across.
It really
I personally came across it in the first place when it was mentioned by Jerry Holkins from Penny Arcade,
that's right.
aka Tycho. When it was one of the games that was sort of announced at PAX, I think in 2012 or 2013. Actually, no, it must have been 2012. And he liked it, and then he talked about it on Penny Arcade, and I was like, I must look at this Card Hunter game, and I was like, I'm totally sold. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it's completely free, and a lot of people, especially a lot of gamers, are very skeptical of things that are free, as they should be, because most free things are bad.
Yeah, there's still kind of that free to play. I wouldn't say prejudice, but gamers like us that appreciate buying games, we don't mind buying games, they kind of get.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we've been burned.
Yeah.
There are so many really bad free games out there that we have just been so burned in the past. We don't want to do it again. We don't want to come across that whole debacle.
Yeah.
So, and then, the other thing is that I'm very much an advocate of especially in the casual market, like on your phones and tablets and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm a very big advocate of releasing games for a small amount of money rather than the ad-supported model. Because I really feel like ad-supported games do themselves a major disservice. I think that the amount of fun that you can have with an ad-supported game has like a cap, essentially. The ad model limits your ability to sort of immerse yourself in the game. It slows down the actual game itself. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your optimization is, the ad service itself is going to take up a certain amount of processing power.
Yeah.
And, you know, they typically have a lot of bandwidth. I mean, you have to be connected to the internet to be streaming the ads. If you're playing it on your phone, it's going to be taking up your mobile data and blah, 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 and all these things. And also, I think there's a certain amount of, when you buy a game, when you pay actual money for a game, there's a certain amount of safety in the expectation of you buying something.
Yeah, it's a thing of, like, when you bought something, you know that you have to kind of invest time in it. Like, you having spent that money is almost like a pledge to play through the game and at least get your, you know, if it's a $10 game, get your at least 2 or 3 hours of entertainment out of it. Like, you know, same sort of... Okay, and again, we should go and say, you know, the length of a game is no indication of how much you should spend on it, etc., etc. But, you know, that's kind of how people think nowadays, is like, if I'm going to be spending $10 on this game, it should at least give me the same amount of enjoyment as, you know, going and seeing a movie or something like that, you know. And so, having bought a game for like a total price, you kind of put that onus on yourself to, you know, play through it and really dig down into it. Whereas, you know, free-to-play games, ad-supported games, you pick them up, you put them down. There's some really interesting stats that have been put around recently about how many people actually engage with free-to-play games. And it is dismal. Like, we're talking terrible, terrible stuff. I can't remember his name precisely, but there was a really, really good article, I think, in Polygon recently about the guys that developed a game called The Room and The Room 2. And they went the scary way of actually charging people for a mobile game, and they made a butt ton of money because they actually made a really, really good game. And he talks through all this kind of stuff. So if you want to look that up. We should probably get back to talking about Card Hunter.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, this is all kind of part of Card Hunter. I mean,
I guess,
in the way I think about it. Because the other thing is that, I mean, one thing you can liken casual games to is YouTube videos.
Sure.
Because YouTube is, again, it's one of these things where you can just jump on and you can just, you know, burn through a dozen videos in a minute
for free. Yeah.
For free. There's no limits here. There's no particular costs involved. And so the number of people, for example, that don't finish watching a YouTube video is immensely high. Immensely high.
Just look at the stats for our last podcast.
Exactly.
It is an hour, though, so that's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely fair enough. But the point is that, I mean, even if you think about your own browsing habits on YouTube, a lot of people just skip through videos, say, oh, yeah, this is the bit I need, blah, blah, blah. There's an interesting statistic called the bounce back rate, which is the number of people as a percentage who complete a video versus people who watch it and then navigate away from the video or even away from the web page. So it's another stat that you get in websites as well. People who go to a website and then navigate to a different website is called a bounce back.
Yeah.
And, you know, even a bounce back rate of 50% is phenomenally high.
Oh, for my website, I think I'm sitting in pretty at around about 85. So
yeah, exactly.
85% of people go to my website, go, and
recoil them instantly in horror.
Yeah. Although I think that's mainly because I have just a few very popular pages, and people go there very specifically for those pages, and then bugger off. So
they specifically need the lyrics to Mystically Decay.
Yes, exactly. It's so embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. I'm almost at the threshold for my first check from Google, though. So, you know,
oh wow,
I'm pretty happy with that.
Almost got $20.
No, it's something ridiculous. It's like $100 that you have to get before Google actually sends you a check. Bad. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so the way that
Card Hunter.
Yeah, so Card Hunter works on the standard free-to-play kind of model where you can play through and, you know, enjoy the vast majority of the game. But if you want to experience some of the better storylines, like the better quests, then you can pay for pizza, which is, you know,
The in-game money.
Perfectly in theme with the Dungeons and Dragons kind of theme. And you use that pizza to buy extra quests. Can you exchange it for gold in-game as well, I think?
No.
No, you can't?
Not that I think, no. But what you can do is you can spend pizza on things like special loot chests that have
right.
guaranteed epics.
Sorry, yeah, that's what
like
it was.
That.
Yeah. So, and obviously those items will have better cards contained within them. So it's kind of basically paying for better cards so that you can tackle something a little bit more.
Well, you're paying for the better chance of getting cards.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not guaranteed, although the other mechanic is that if you have bought the game, and so, I mean, the minimum buy-in is $25, which is
pretty
immensely
high.
Achievable. Oh, really? I was thinking it was achievable.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so full disclosure, I hadn't paid for the game at all up until we decided to do it on the podcast. And then as soon as we decided to do it on the podcast, I said to myself, well, if we're going to be reviewing it, and I've dropped in however many hours, I think it's worth seeing the proper paid for content to be able to properly and unbiased sort of review it.
Yeah.
And I guess it was worth it. I mean, I've played probably 30 hours of it in the past 2 weeks. I mean, that's less
decent.
than $1 an hour.
Yeah.
If we're going to go back to the whole money for movie analogy, it's more money effective than a movie is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. The other mechanic that you can get with having a paid account is that you are guaranteed to get a second item at the highest rarity of whatever items you have got during that quest.
Yeah, that's right.
So at the end of every level, there's a treasure chest that opens up.
That's right.
And little you get your little treasure things at the end. Very Zelda-esque sort of thing. And then the chest might have between 3 and 5. That was my message tone for so many years.
I know. I still have a Pavlovian response whenever it goes off.
You salivate?
One of you answering your phone? Anyway.
That's going to be an awkward mental image to shake later.
Shake.
So you... Let's stop there. So you get a couple, 3 to 5 items, and then they increase in rarity. So it'll be like normal, rare, epic, legendary, and sort of makes higher pitch notes as you get each one. And then if you've got the membership thing, you get another one at the highest level item that you got. So if the highest level item that you got in your chest was a rare, you'll get a second rare as well. But if you get a legendary, you might get a second legendary.
And I think the really devious thing, if I recall correctly, is the fact that they actually show you it even if you don't have a membership. So if you don't have a membership, it'll actually show you...
This is what you missed out on.
This is what you missed out on. This legendary, amazing, club of fuck you. It'll just show you it just there.
Although the funny thing is, this kind of goes against their benefit as well, because it also... The items it's showing you, they're sometimes not very good. And you're like, well, I'm glad I didn't put down my money on this game because I would have got a sack of pickled herring, which is one of the things that I got in one of the reward boxes.
Right.
So I guess, I mean, the algorithm that determines the dice rolls for your loot,
it's an
works
RNG,
for and
obviously.
against them. Yeah. So or a random number
Jesus.
generator for. So it works for and against them, depending on, I guess, how the dice are playing in your favor or against your favor.
But I mean, the thing is, as far as a free-to-play game goes, I think it's pretty unique. Like, you can actually really enjoy the adventures that they've laid out for you that are the free adventures. And it actually kind of is more challenging and more enjoyable if you're not paying for it. Like, you kind of have to work out... It really... They've kind of nailed the growth. I haven't played it for a while, but...
See, this is the other thing, is that the special quests that you get if you do go for the Club Rewards account is... though the quest line that you follow with that one is really hard.
Oh, really?
Like, insanely difficult.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have been playing this one dungeon over and over and over again. I've paid, 15 gold to revive my party so many freaking times.
Yeah, right.
Because I just get ganked by a swarm of pseudopods. It's brutal. And each time I'm like, oh, man, I've got to find a marketplace to, because the marketplace is where you can purchase items, refreshes each day with a different random assortment of items that you can buy with in-game gold. I just need better equipment, I guess, or I need to stop being a spastic. I don't know what the problem is with that one.
Yeah, because
the other thing I should mention,
skill thing, with how
there
you
is a skill
move
thing,
around
and it's not just how you move around; it's what you equip your characters with. Because just because you have a good item doesn't mean you should use it.
Yeah.
If you're playing against, for example, skeletons, if you know that the dungeon you're coming into has a lot of skeletons, you shouldn't equip weapons that do piercing damage, because piercing damage does very little damage, sometimes no damage to skeletons.
Yeah.
Or if you're fighting, blobs of slime, like I'm currently doing, you need to get rid of all your bashing weapons, because they just shrug that stuff off like it's yesterday's rain.
Yeah.
Like it's not a deal for them.
Yeah.
So you need to be thinking about what items you're equipping, and you also have there's a cool mechanic with a power pool, where certain items require X amount of power. So sometimes it's good to get one or two really powerful items. Sometimes it's good to spread the power out amongst your items. It just depends on the scenario that you're working towards.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really interesting tactics that are happening in the game as well.
And that's how they're pulling in the deck building aspect. Because, half of the fun of these games is kind of messing around with your deck, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, like optimizing it for the battle that you're about to go into.
And this sort of leads into Hearthstone, because this is a problem in Hearthstone for me, but in Card Hunter it doesn't bother me. And that is something that is called the meta. Now, a lot of games have a meta, and the term meta is used in this case to describe the game outside the game.
Yeah.
It's like how you optimize the way that you play the game. And the meta is really important in collectible card games or trading card games, because the meta essentially determines the value of certain cards, which cards are good and which cards are bad.
Yeah.
And, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. The point of a collectible card game is to collect cards and trade them.
It's in the name.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, they may as well call it the keep spending money card game.
Yeah.
Because that's what the game is designed to do. It's designed to make you spend
Magic
more money
the
on
Gathering was the original kind of pay-to-win game. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but you can make really good decks with, not that many cards, or you can get the basic decks and all that kind of stuff. But no, when I was in high school, the guys that could afford to spend, that had the kind of casual jobs and worked on the weekends or whatever, or got a good allowance from their mother or whatever, the guys that could spend money on cards, they won because they had better cards. That's just the way it is.
They had the fuck you card.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, well, before we get on to Hearthstone, before we get on to the metagame and all that kind of stuff, so Card Hunter, obviously you can just basically go to cardhunter.com and start playing, I think.
Yeah. Just put in your name.
Yeah, just log in, register.
There's also a multiplayer component.
Does it?
Yeah, it's got a duel thing where you've got a separate deck of cards.
Oh, cool.
So it doesn't matter how good or bad you are in the single player, you can go into the multiplayer and then work your way up and, play against people in little duel arena things,
that's cool.
Which is actually really, really cool as well.
Sweet. Well, that sounds cool. I would recommend it for someone, so anybody that's played D&D, I reckon give it a crack, because it even if you just play it to get the flavor text, to get the story, because the story of the game is that you're playing as this kind of semi-noob to D&D, and his brother's kind of like the all-knowing GM who just knows everything about D&D and just constantly rips on his brother. So the actual story
looks almost identical to the comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
There's an archetype here.
Yeah, exactly. The story is hilarious. It's actually really well written. So I would just play it if you've played any D&D whatsoever, or any collectible card game, because it's kind of the similar tone. Play it, because you can play it while you're watching a movie or watching TV or whatever. It is definitely a multitaskable game kind of thing. But yeah, just the flavor that they have on it, the art is really, really good. It's really on the money. Really, really good for people that have played those games. If you just like tactical turn-based RPGs or turn-based games, also a really good game.
I also think it's a really good game if you've never played any of them. I think it would be a great gateway game to get into the genre.
For sure.
Or even if you don't want to get into the genre, if you just want something casual to do for the next half hour, it's a great game to jump into. And because, again, it's browser-based, you can just jump in and jump out, and there's no problems here. You can just minimize it to the taskbar.
I imagine it's
go to work.
relatively resource not unintensive.
No, in fact, this is a very small subset of our almost non-existent audience, but if you own a Surface, like something like a tablet that has an actual amount of
RAM
capabilities, and the ability to render Flash, which the iPad doesn't have. Yeah, so I don't know how, for example, something like Card Hunter would work with the iPad. I don't know if they've upgraded to HTML5 compatibility yet. But if you've got a Surface or a small sort of laptop or something, it's an ideal. I mean, it's got touch controls, so you can do that. It's very easy to sort of tap away at it. It's a very, very casual, bus game or whatever. It's a really, really good sort of whenever game.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, so that is Card Hunter. It's made by, what was it, Blue Manchu, I think they're called?
Blue Manchu,
yep. And you can get it for free, or however much you want to pay if you get addicted to it, at cardhunter.com. So I guess we should move from that somewhat casual game to a game that is both casual and really, really hardcore, which is Hearthstone. It is made by Blizzard, whom you may know from such, again, really small indie games like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft and Diablo. World of Warcraft, it's like, I don't know.
Are there these guys that just, they sometimes make games?
Yeah, and a few people play them, and they earn.
Again, hasn't really made it to the Northern Water Tribe. It's
neither of computers, to be fair. So
I've been watching a lot of Avatar recently.
So it's made by Blizzard. Obviously, they are huge. They are a massive company. They have a lot of weight to throw around. And recently, they've been kind of seemingly going after the more casual market. And Hearthstone is the first example of this, because it's a card game that strips away a lot of the mechanics that might infuriate people that have never played a card game before, and people that like myself, who...
It strips away some of the mechanics.
Some of the mechanics.
Well,
okay, I mean, I had a look at Magic the Gathering the other day, and Magic the Gathering is obviously the archetype for which this game is based on, and I had no idea about half the rules that were on those cards.
No.
They're confusing as hell, and, I played it for a good 2 or 3 years in high school. It's like playing Magic the Gathering about 10 years ago. It's there's only a few mechanics to really learn and be aware of, and then the rest is just tactical decisions and having good cards kind of thing. So Hearthstone's based on the World of Warcraft universe, so if you've played any World of Warcraft whatsoever, you'll probably recognize some of the heroes and stuff that are in there. So the way you play it is that you pick a hero. There are 9 heroes, and they're all basically archetypes of classes. So you've got your druid, you've got a shaman, rogue, priest, paladin, what else? Warrior, hunter, and druid. Did I say druid? Druid.
I don't know. I just want to say druid again.
Okay, well, druid twice. There's 2 druids. Anyway, there's 9 overall classes. Oh, warlock is the last one. There's 9 overall classes. Each of them have a certain number of class-only cards, which kind of give them their flavor. So warlock has a lot of cards that it sacrifices things to do. Rogue has a lot of cards that directly attack players and also combo together to do more things. Priest obviously has a lot of cards that heals him and heals his minions and that kind of stuff.
Druids have a lot of cards that just be awesome.
Yeah, druids have a lot of cards that are just sweet. Shamans have a lot of cards that are just sweet. Shamans, I friggin' love shamans. Shamans?
I say shamans.
Let's say shamans. So you choose your hero.
Shamwows.
Each hero, each hero has a certain number of cards that give them their flavor, and then you've got just a whole bunch of neutral cards that you can put in to, basically affect your deck. All neutral cards so far are, I believe, all minions. So there's 3 or 4 different types of cards in the game. There's spells, which do something that isn't summoning a creature. There's minions, which summon creatures. Duh. There's equipment, which will summon some kind of sword or axe or something that you can use as your hero to directly attack something. And there are also secrets. And these are things that you play during your turn.
Like, I hate secret cards.
Everyone friggin' hates secrets because they're really annoying. And you play a secret during your turn, and then during the other person's turn, if they fulfill a certain requirement, it'll trip and do something really crazy. So the way the game works is that you put your deck together, and that is not a trivial thing to say. In that one sentence, there's a few hours to spend there. But you put your deck together, you pretty much just hit play, and you can play in one of two modes. You can play casual or you can play ranked. And then it finds you an opponent, and you start playing, and you start using your mana, which just slowly increases over the sort of breadth of the game. Your resource pool is mana, obviously, and you use that to put down creatures that can attack your opponent. You can use it to use spells that might attack your opponent or might do things like remove creatures or make your creatures better, etc. And your aim is to do enough damage to the other person to bring them from 30 life to 0. So it's really standard stuff. However, it's just the presentation. The presentation of this game is just really smooth.
Yeah.
I mean,
it looks really pretty.
You've got to hand it to them. Like, it's not even really the prettiness. It's just that it is literally that easy to get into the game. Like, you can construct a deck. If you know what you're doing, you can construct a deck relatively quickly, hit the play button, and just be playing against a person within about 2 or 3 minutes of starting up the game. Like, less. Like, half a minute.
Although, I mean, again, we say construct a deck as if it's that easy.
Yeah, so we should mention that. So there's the casual mode of play, which is pretty much what I just said, where you just kind of throw together a deck that you want to put together, and I don't know, this card looks cool, awesome, I'll put together that in my deck, and then go and play. That's if you...
Ooh, a wolf!
oh, yeah.
I love wolves!
Oh, pirates. I love pirates. Murlocs. No. It's such a good impression. Can you do it again? So on spot. Anyway, there's that casual way of playing it, and that's kind of how we started playing it. We played against each other a couple of times. I destroyed Tim, by the way.
Saying that we played each other a couple of times is really... That's putting a nice bow on it. What you did is you desecrated my bloody corpse over and over again, and you mocked me while doing it. You laughed your face off.
What can I say?
Like a child at Christmas.
I had a couple of extra cards on you, so I wouldn't feel too bad. But yeah.
No, I'm sorry, that doesn't make me feel any less bad. I felt atrocious.
It was pretty hard. Anyway, so you can kind of play it in that casual way, like, slowly unlocking new cards and, slowly getting your way there. Or, as Tim was about to say, you can kind of go hardcore on this because it's a free-to-play, but that means that there's a whole bunch of people that are playing it. And there has, therefore, built up a bit of a competitive esports scene.
A little bit.
So there are a couple of stats. Obviously, the big thing for streaming and esports and all that kind of stuff is Twitch. Twitch is, if you don't know this, a video streaming site where gamers will stream what they're doing to people who watch them.
Soon to be owned by YouTube.
At any one time, Hearthstone will have around about 18,000 concurrent people watching other people play Hearthstone.
What?
Yeah, so 18,000.
What?
At the time of us going to record, it was actually 20,000. And apparently the max is around about 25.
That's insane.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy.
And they're just people who are watching, not playing.
Yeah, so that's just people that are watching. So you can imagine there's quite a player base.
That's crazy town.
Yeah.
That's Crazy Pants McGee.
Yeah, so what we were referring to before with the metagame, and this is something that basically occurs around any esports game, means that, like, with the amount of people that are playing this and the amount of people that are streaming it and the amount of people that are really considering it as a really competitive game and, like, really going hard at it, because there is a ranked mode. And you can go from rank 25, which is the lowest of the low, and you are a chicken, I believe, is your rank at rank 25.
Yep. Yes, I am.
All the way up to rank 1, which is legend. And then it becomes, like, basically who's the most legend of the legend. So you get a number of... Like, once you reach rank 1, then you have a number of rank 1. So if you are rank 1 75, that means you're the 75th best person in that region.
So what you're saying is, at that point of penis measuring, you go down to the millimeter.
Pretty much. Nanometer, I believe.
Nanometer.
So, obviously, the fact that there is a rank mode means that people get ultra competitive, and it develops a meta. Now, if you want to just treat Hearthstone as a nice free-to-play, occasionally I get beaten, but occasionally I beat other people, do not go into the meta. Do not look up sites like Hearthstone. Do not look up sites like Team Liquid's Hearthstone site.
I didn't know that Hearthstone existed.
It does. Oh, it does.
I'm not surprised,
Yeah.
and I wish that I was sadder, but I'm not. I just...
It's pretty good. Don't go on the Reddit subreddit of Hearthstone. Don't do any of these things. Just keep it as something that occasionally you log into while you're watching TV, and you spend a couple of minutes just, putting together some random deck and playing. If, on the other hand, you are one of those people, like myself, who does enjoy getting competitive in games, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to look at what is the best out there, because while Blizzard is a veteran at this, like, they've been putting together competitive esports games for quite a while now, obviously StarCraft being probably the biggest one, they're still not quite... The way that the game works, certain decks are going to be more powerful, just straight out, and certain heroes are going to be more powerful, just straight out, and certain tactics are going to be a lot easier to pull off and a lot more effective than others. So you basically need to keep on top of that. And the way that you keep on top of that is by spending money, because this is a free-to-play game.
Yay!
So obviously, the way that Blizzard are making money off this is to have you pay to get more cards. And there are quite a few cards. I don't know a number off the top of my head, unfortunately. But
3 quintillion.
3 quintillion. Okay,
3 quintillion.
That's a rough estimate. He's an astronomer, so that's round to the nearest quadrillion from that one.
There is 2 en route to times Avogadro's number.
Pretty much. So the way that the game works is that when you win games, and that's my girlfriend coming home. Hi, Lou. When you win games, you earn gold. And when you fulfill quests, you earn gold. Quests are generally things like win X number of games with a particular hero, or do X number of damage to other heroes, or something like that. So you earn gold from completing those quests and from just winning games. So 3 games equals 10 gold. When you fulfill those quests, you get the gold. You can spend 100 gold, which is not that much. It's actually achievable if you play the game for maybe half an hour to an hour. When you spend that gold, you spend 100 gold and you get a pack of 5 cards. And those 5 cards will include uncommons, rares, legendaries, etc. Obviously, if you want to keep up with the meta, and the meta uses a lot of, obviously, more than common cards, so they're usually legendaries and epics and, rares, that kind of stuff, you're going to have to get your hands on decks. Get your hands on card packs. And you can obviously spend money on that. So I honestly can't remember how much they cost. I think it's like $2.99 for 1 pack of cards, which is pretty crazy.
It's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
No. Did you? So I can't look it up because my keyboard's so incredibly loud. But it is, it's a fairly large investment in order to get more packs of cards. So I personally haven't spent anything on it, which means that
neither have I.
Which means that when I play ranked, more often than not, I am getting beaten because you run into these
savagely into the ground.
Yeah, you run into these decks where people can just kill you in one turn.
These goddamn zoo decks.
Oh god, Zoolock is a really anyway, sorry, we shouldn't get into specific names because there are a bunch of podcasts out there that do this a lot better than we would.
That we do.
One of which, if you did want to listen to it, if you are a Hearthstone person and you want to get advice on which podcast to listen to, my favorite one, which I've kind of been listening to for the past 5 or 6 weeks, is called The Angry Chicken. It's run by a bunch of guys that are over at AMAZING Radio, and they are just really fun to listen to. They have a kind of a mix. There's one guy that's like really keen on getting legendary, and the other 2 are kind of a little bit more casual about it. So they've got a good mix of discussion going on there. But it's crazy how much Hearthstone has taken off. I don't even think they expected it to go so crazy.
No. Well, I think they wanted it to, but I think they really knew that it was going to be successful, because they are fighting up against, Magic the Gathering is a behemoth in this world. Magic the Gathering is the quintessential card game. So MTG has an iPad and Steam and all the rest of them in terms of the computer apps now as well, so you can play MTG on your computer or your iPad or whatever your preferential gaming device is, except for Nintendo DS, I guess.
Nintendo anything.
Nintendo anything. So, I mean, it's not like it was an empty void for them to just jump into,
No.
or that it was a brand new, IP with all this sort of risk attached to it. I mean, first of all, they're using the Blizzard name and all the characters. I mean, the Warlock and the Paladin and the Druid and everything, they are the WoW characters, essentially.
Yeah.
They are the quintessential WoW characters, World of Warcraft characters. So, there's nothing new there. All the iconography of the game exists already.
Yeah.
The rules already exist. The game style, the gameplay, all this stuff exists already. So it's not like it's exactly dangerous territory or uncharted waters that they're jumping into. But at the same time, Magic the Gathering is a big name. And when Magic the Gathering released their Planewalker or whatever it was.
Jewel of the Planeswalkers?
Jewels of the Planewalkers, yeah. On the PC, I don't think that took off as big as, or at least as quickly as Hearthstone has.
I think it's the environment that it was released in, though. I mean, Blizzard stepped in where it was possible to have people streaming games and for people to enjoy and for it to be kind of a normal thing to sit there and watch a real
Well, it's only
pro.
really sort of come out. I mean, we're talking about like the last 24 months max in terms of streaming being super popular. It's existed for a long time, but it hasn't been really, really popular until the last sort of maybe 2 years, possibly even just 18 months.
Yeah.
And that's, eponified by the fact that the, eponified? Not a word.
No, it isn't. What were you trying to say?
Typified? I don't know.
I think typified.
Iconified?
Yeah, I don't know.
All these things
Words.
by the PlayStation, or it's eponified by the PlayStation 4's share button. See what I did there?
No?
No.
It's still not a word.
Shut up. It is now. So the eponymous share button allows you to share your gameplay with various streaming sites. In the PlayStation 4's case, it is just Twitch, I think. And the fact that it's become a thing. I mean, so the fact that the PS4 has a button that is literally dedicated to sharing via streaming is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that it's now a thing where multi-$100 consoles that you can purchase, big AAA consoles, what people are calling the next-gen consoles, although that's a whole different podcast as to why that's not true.
Yeah. PC Master
They
Race.
are built around the concept of sharing your experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a thing now. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's not just pre-recording and putting it up on YouTube with some special effects and commentary, and this is real-time live streaming sort of stuff that people are really, really into. There's a sort of weird voyeuristic immediacy that you get out of watching live videos that is, like I said, it's a thing now.
Yeah, and this ties into the esports, obviously, because now when tournaments happen, things like the International for Dota 2, things like the League of Legends World Championships, CSGO, DreamHack, all that kind of stuff. Now that you have these, outlets for people to watch, like the real ultra pros, like the guys that dedicate, thousands of hours to mastering these games, it's become a sport. Like, it's become something that people watch as much as they watch real sport. I would say during the last year or so, I've probably watched just as much online gaming esports as I have real sports. And I watch quite a bit of sports. I watch a lot of soccer. So, this isn't a paltry comparison. It's I don't know, it's really enjoyable to watch somebody who's playing the same game as you, but just at such another level, just to see how it's done. Like, it's crazy. If you've ever, kicked around a soccer ball and then watched the Premier League, it's that same feeling. Like, you're watching them just going, man,
Never
these
done
guys,
that.
I know you haven't, but it's that feeling of, man, these guys are good, and I want to follow that, and I want to see how they develop, and I want to see how these teams go against each other. And it's all the things of regular sports. You have rivalries, there are more rivalries and drama in esports than there are in normal sports, because everyone's connected. Everyone's on Twitter, everyone's on Facebook, everyone's calling each other out, and, all this kind of stuff.
But then again, that's one of the reasons why I don't watch sports in the first place, because I just can't abide drama.
Yeah.
Just really freaking hate it.
I tend to ignore the drama surrounding esports. Like, I don't go to there are actually gossip websites for esports. It's kind of pathetic, but, I kind of tend to ignore all that crap and just focus on just watching these people playing this game as skillfully as they can. And that, to me, is really enjoyable. Like, I really get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't. I don't know.
Different strokes for different people.
But yeah, anyway, so getting back to Hearthstone, obviously it's a free-to-play game. You can play it as casually as you like. In fact, it's really fun just to play with friends in the same room. Because if you have someone with an iPad and someone with a tablet, someone with a Surface, whatever, you can all log in and play. It's not a big deal. There is now, obviously, the iPad version had to be developed for specifically for it because it couldn't actually...
Which, I gotta say, doesn't run that well. I saw it on the bus just the other day, and I don't know if he was using an older version of iPad or if there was something wrong with what he was doing, but it was didn't look good.
Okay. Well, I mean, it
didn't look good at all.
It runs okay on my Windows 8 tablet, which I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, a couple of frames dropped here and there, but you can kind of get the feel for it. Anyway, it's
yeah, this was more like 12 FPS.
Oh, okay,
type.
right.
Yeah, it was.
It was
really
probably
bad.
an older iPad because they did develop it specifically for iPads, and I would assume for the latest generation of iPads, obviously, to try and get more people to buy it. Anyway, it's really fun just to play with friends in a room and just like be basically doing what you would be doing with a normal card game, but the fact that it's free to play, you can kind of set your own rules. Like, I've had a lot of fun. I played a game the other day where you can tell the game to fill up your deck for you, and so we chose random heroes and then just didn't choose any of our cards. We just said, select a card for me, and just filled up our decks with completely random cards that not even we kind of really knew what was coming, and so we played against each other, and it was just the most ridiculous random game. There's no strategy to it whatsoever. We were just laughing our asses off at some of the crap that was coming out. So you can kind of...
But it's good when you can do that.
Yeah.
I mean...
And I think they should enable that more. I think there should be like a dedicated like random hero, random card, or, limit it to just all kinds of rules, like all kind of modifiers. It's like playing a FPS like Unreal Tournament, like being able to put random mods on and stuff like that. Like, it really does. It helps that feeling of translating the card game, like translating house rules to a digital game, like translating that kind of stuff, making the players able to make up their own rules and their own fulfillments for enjoyment, I guess. Goals for enjoyment. Would be really, really cool if they embrace that. They probably won't, I can't imagine, because they are steering it more.
In fact, I would put money on no.
No, I mean, they probably won't, but because they are steering it more towards the esports kind of category. But yeah, we should mention actually that it's about to get its first expansion.
Oh God, it's really?
Yeah, and it includes a really quite large single-player adventure mode.
That's what it desperately needs as well.
Yeah, so the thing is, when you first start Hearthstone, you do go through a tutorial, and it's kind of a very loose story, not really at all. And you kind of fight up against opponents and, learn how each card works and all this kind of stuff, all the different mechanics. But this one's actually going to be a dedicated single-player adventure mode where presumably there'll be like modifiers on the board that you can't do certain things, or maybe they switch up different cards and all this kind of stuff. So there'll probably be some really interesting puzzles that you have to solve, because there are each turn kind of is like a puzzle that you can solve to see if you've got the ability to kill the other person. So I imagine there'll probably be some of that worked in there as well. I think it's going to be paid for in terms of, because it's a WoW based game. It's like doing a raid, so you unlock different areas of the raid by paying money to unlock those areas. So it'll probably be around, I think it's around about $5 or $6 per bit, or $9 per bit, I think. I can't imagine it'd be much more than that, because people just wouldn't pay for it. But in order to get all of the cards for that expansion, you have to unlock all the different areas, obviously, because they want to make money out of this. But yeah, I think the single player campaign
Fair enough. I mean, they do. That's what they're in it for.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Making money.
Yeah, totally. I think the single player campaign will really help people that are just looking for a casual experience to kind of jump in and spend money, rather than like me, who just, I'm never going to spend money on just getting more cards. But I may spend...
Ain't going to happen.
But I may spend money on, a single player campaign that's enjoyable and kind of tests me and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess we should probably wrap it up there.
Yeah, I mean, both good games. If I was going to recommend just one of them, I'd probably recommend Card Hunter. What about you?
Yeah, I'd probably recommend Card Hunter just for the fact that it's kind of much more involved and interesting. Like, it's doing new things, whereas Hearthstone is just doing old things, but So smooth.
with a lot of flashy,
Smooth
graphics
like
and
butter. My God.
good experiences.
Yeah. So Card Hunter, is really trying to do interesting things, interesting mechanics. Whereas Hearthstone, if you just want something to jump in, jump out of, like, just so smooth.
I'd also say that Card Hunter probably, to me, is the one with the more depth.
Yeah,
to it.
I'd say
like there's
so.
more to it. There's more to explore and discover with Card Hunter, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, people might argue with you about that from Hearthstone, saying that, tiny tweaks to your deck.
And they're free to.
Yeah, tiny tweaks to your deck can make a big difference, and they can, but only really at the top tier when you're playing against people that have as many hours into the game as you do.
Ultimately, it comes down to what your personal preference is for experiences. If that's the experience you're looking for, then by all means, play Hearthstone.
for sure.
If you want to play both of them, play both of them. This is the great thing about the world, is that you can do
And they're
whatever
both
you
free.
want, really.
They're both free.
And they're both free,
So,
to an extent.
very little
I
barrier.
wouldn't recommend jumping into either of these games with the paid version first. I would certainly jump in with the free side of things and get as much experience out of that as you can before you want to think about putting money in.
Well, it's kind of weird.
because-
It's kind of weird. The intent behind both, in terms of getting you to pay money, is very different. Hearthstone is saying, pay me money and I'll give you a better chance to win. Whereas Card Hunter, it's like you play most of the game and then you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I've put in like 10 to 20 hours into this game. I'll give them some money. And not only is it making me feel good for giving them money, but it's also going to unlock a bunch of content for me. So it's it's interesting. I think it seems very
Different
clear to me that
attitudes.
there's different intent behind both. So
Definitely. I mean, you can't begrudge a company for making money off the thing that they've made. I mean, they've
No, of
put
course not.
literally thousands and thousands of man hours into making these things. They come from massive pedigrees. These people have, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've put a lot of work into it. They deserve money.
It's just
for
the
it.
way
You're
that
paying for
I
something.
mean, if these games had been released 5 years ago, they wouldn't be free to play.
no,
So
no,
they would be.
wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah, they'd be. You get everything from the start, and you pay for DLC because that's how it was back then. It's just the current climate. Like, we're not begrudging anybody the ability to make money from their games because we want more games. Therefore, we're going to give money to people. Like, it's not hard. But yeah, both really, really great games. Really fun to play. Hearthstone, if you got people like kind of sitting around at a LAN that want to do something a little bit more casual, that's probably the place for that. Whereas if you want kind of a more in-depth, mechanical, interesting game to play, I would say, Card Hunter.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, that is the episode. So I guess if you want to see us in other places other than YouTube and the podcast that you're listening to, most probably, you can find us on our website. Our website is timandphill.com. That's Phil with 2 L's. If you want to see us on Facebook, however, we are on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com/timandphill, again with the 2L thing. If you want to contact us directly, however, we do have specific means to do that. We've got Twitters. Tim is on the Twitters. He is at Dungeon Master. You can add him as a friend on Steam by going to Steam. What is it? Steam Community.
/ID.
Yeah, Steam Community /ID/Ageatus. That's AGEOTAS. Or he does have a website, which is CorsairsAnchorage.com.
And Phil is also up there in the Twitterverse. You can find him with the Tooth Soup tag, which is TOOTHSOUP, just like you would spell it out normally. He can be found on Steam with his new name of Flaxer, which is FLAXEH. So again, that's steamcommunity.com /ID/Flaxer. And you can also find him at his regular website, which is toothsoup.com. Thanks for listening.
And happy gaming. Huzzah.
Woo!
We didn't have any screw-ups. We're not going to have a screw-up. We're not going to have an outtake.
No, not this time.
Just 2G.
Not this time.
2G.
Yeah.